Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to show what we are doing in music class in the elementary school. I have third grade and fourth grade here. And thanks to the principals at the school, Mark Archer and Katie and we've been able to get some things for the music program that has made instruments that the district has owned that have been sitting in closets accessible. We were able to get a grant to purchase Food Matters, a class set of ukuleles. Last year we started with fifth grade, fourth grade, and this year third grade and fifth grade have been playing them. So I want to show you the ukuleles, and then we also got a grant to purchase mallets to play this wonderful instrumentarium that the district owned that were positive. But because they were big and heavy, we have to move things around a lot because of little kids in the room moving around. Mark said, "What do you need?" And I said, "I need carts so we can roll them back out of the way easily and quickly between classes." And so we got carts and mallets. All the mallets were pretty much descended from the here they were purchased years ago. And this is a wonderful set of instruments. So when the fourth graders play those, the first I'd like to have our third graders play. They've learned they're learning how to strum and even pattern and how to put things for different chord shapes. And they just started. These had about 5 lessons. They have music once a week. Once in a while, we get it twice. And so they're going to play a play along where they can watch the chord changes and play them to Imagine Dragons Thunder. So our third grade is out. First, they just learn how to hold and strum. So let's do the strum. And then they learn the C chord, which with one finger, so one shoulder finger. And then one finger F chord. And then they just learn A minor last week. Now, or so here we go. Imagine Dragons Thunder. Using these play-alongs, it makes it feel more successful. And we have a band acting. I want the fourth grade will come to the Orff Instrumentarium. That's what you would call all these instruments. And fourth grade right now we're moving into reading notes. But this is what we started in January, just to learn how to alternate sticking. Sticking are the mallets, how to hit them in the middle and let it resonate. All these things are techniques, they're an instrument. And they're also going to sing it. It's just a silly little folk song that's in the new curriculum that also was able to get for me for the music program. So it's called Chipper Chopper Joe. It's like a new set of pencil blocks that we just got. And then, he's playing some drums there. And so are you ready? Here we go. Thank you so much for letting us share what we're doing in Big
Thank you. Get 'em.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, let's get them muddle out of there.
Yeah.
Chris is supposed. Chris should come up and introduce. Anna. Chris, give him just a minute to clear out and then get going.
Hi.
And they're all gone. Hendricks, nice job.
Yeah.
Look at this beautiful colored
Thank you.
information you're getting. Sorry.
Look at you. What?
I'm sorry. I think you're the guy with the inside scoop, right?
Okay, I'll remember that. So what's our dinner?
What's on my house?
Okay, I think we're ready to introduce, Chris is gonna introduce her, who's in
Okay.
charge of food service.
I'll make sure he's
Trish
ready.
Amundsen works in
Oh.
food service also.
They're leaving me. All right. I think, are we all set?
Yeah.
Maybe?
All right, that can't. Oh, oh. Where, Matt might be able to help. In the back.
It didn't expect it.
Yes. Um, we did introductions and show some. Is this thing working? No?
Nope.
Yes, well, should,
Yeah? Hello?
uh,
Hold the right button. Okay, here we go. That's on?
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about our nutrition program, school food service. Since I've started, I don't think we've talked to the board about food service, so we just want to give you guys a look into what we've been doing. Over the past couple of years, we've made some big changes, especially this year. So we just want to kind of highlight those things. We handed out to either you a copy of the slides, which we're going to get them up here. You guys can see. There she is. I'll keep talking a little, but the first couple of slides are just introductions of our food service staff. Erin Edgington is our lead. Here we go. She is our head cook. So she is in charge of the daily operations, the food ordering, those types of things. And then we have Shauna Carney at the middle school, and Erin is based over at the elementary. She runs that kitchen. And then Shauna is our assistant cook. She runs the middle school cafeteria kitchen. And then we have Gabe Geyer, Stephanie Jeffries, and Amy Cook, who are all kitchen helpers. And each one of them plays a big role. The main topic tonight is going to be scratch cooking.
Trish, introduce Trish.
And we didn't put the picture up there. And we also have Trisha Amundsen, who is serving as part-time service secretary.
Nice.
So she helps me. I'll ask her to help me get some numbers together, meal counts, those types of things. She reaches out to staff members if they have balances outstanding. Some reach out to families as well. We've had some refunds that we've processed this year. She's the one reaching out to those families, letting them know that they have a credit. Are you able to share that to me? Okay, that's a little easier to see. Something that we have been doing over the past year is contracting with ESD 113 to provide us a mentor. And Meredith Arsenault is our mentor. She's been out here quite often. Her and I will sit down, and Trisha will sit down in meetings to talk about program planning, all kinds of things, scratch cooking ideas. She helps me a lot. But Meredith is she is a mentor for me. She provides a mentoring for myself. She helps us prepare for administrative reviews. We're doing a lot of work with our recipes right now, and she's really helping with that. Menu planning, cycle menus, those types of things. And then scratch cooking. She's really helped us pick up our the amount of scratch cooking we've been doing. So a big thank you. She's not here tonight, but a big thank you to her. She's been a big part of everything. Now we have Anna, who is working in the kitchen. She's been doing a lot of the scratch cooking. So she's going to talk about some of the things we've been doing, some of the different dishes, all of that.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, I'm Anna. I am your favorite lunch lady. I feel like
My life has intersected with Pioneer School District at exactly the perfect time. I have my whole life been passionate about not just feeding people, but nourishing people, and especially these little humans that are going to become adults. We're building cells, we're building bodies. Let's take hunger out of the equation and feed them good food at school. I want to touch on having Meredith and being an invaluable resource. That's a direct quote from our head cook, Erin. Meredith has walked a mile in all of our shoes. She has done dishes, she's served kids, she's run kitchens, and she is amazing to have as a resource. From new recipes to logistics to food safety, this chick knows it all. She is amazing. Her phone is always open. She always answers emails. She makes herself available. She's been here over half a dozen times this year alone. And it's just such a safe, very comforting to have her when we're venturing into these new foods that are outside of corn dogs and pizza. Taste It Tuesday. It's like my favoriteest thing. Taste It Tuesday, we pick a food that is probably new to kids. And the paraeducators picked 5 students out of each grade, so that's 30 kids, to come up and try new foods. They may like it, they may not, but they're allowed to cast their vote. They have in front of the picture on the left is Stephanie, and there's 2 containers there. One says yes, please, and the other one says no, thank you. And whichever their vote is where they put their little container of test. We always get more than 5 kids coming up because kids are curious about what's in that little cup. We have tried everything from the little baby corns to pickled beets, water chestnuts, pea dip, freeze-dried peas, roasted garbanzo beans. We're really coming up with great things every week. Sometimes it's a cookie. Sometimes it's, something fun. Usually it's something we can put on the salad bar. Let's see. One of the things that I have observed is putting new foods in front of kids has to happen more than once. We have up on the screen now, you can see, I don't remember what soup that is on the left. It's like the kids that come up and say, they come through the lunch line and they say, no, I don't want that. We introduce it to them with, will you please try it? Most kids are willing to try it. We give them a little 2-ounce cup and say, if you don't like it, no problem. You don't have to like it. You don't have to eat the whole thing, but give it a try. And 5 kids last week for the bison chili, 5 kids last week came up and got a full serving after they'd gone and sat down and they came back. Let's see. Other things we put on the menu, which I was really surprised at, that really just goes well every single time, are things like the garlic roasted broccoli, the roasted cauliflower, the roasted Brussels sprouts, and the roasted sweet potatoes. Every week every time we try these things on our menu, we end up having to order and prepare more for the next time it's introduced on the menu. And I love that a kid will turn down a corn dog and take roasted broccoli. That little bit. I'm not a nutritionist. I just love feeding people whole foods. I am under the impression that sometimes kids don't get to eat healthy at home because working parents have a heart. So I myself, I don't always want to cook when I get home. So making sure that they get these 5 meals a week, 2 times a day. These are important meals, in my opinion, for our students. Hungry bellies are no good in the classroom. Let's keep them fed. And a lot of times we are allowed to offer them, the 5th graders at least, at the end of the lunch service, we're able to offer them second helpings. And the kids, of course, the kids that help us clean up if they're, got their ducks in a row. We're obviously able to help them have a second helping, and they go for it. They go for it, which I was pleasantly surprised to witness myself. But I think one of the big parts of that is giving it a no pressure approach. You don't have to eat the whole thing. You don't even have to like it, but please give it a try. And now it's kind of become our mantra, especially with the little kids. Do you want to go to the salad bar, or do you want to try new things? And they want to try new things when they come up to the hot service bar. In all of this, we have less waste. We have the things that may not necessarily get put out in the salad bar, but are still good to serve. We turn those into more items. There's another slide up here. I forget what it's at, but it's a picture of a black steamed corn. It's not that one. That guy right there. The scratch cooking equals healthier eating slide. That is something that we just had extra of. We had extra tomatoes, extra corn, red pepper. We put it together with some lime juice, some salt, and some cilantro, and we have a new salad. So the kids are eating it. They like it. We like that. And also I want to touch on our kitchen crew. Our kitchen crew is awesome. Not only are they great to work with, but I would be friends with them outside of work. We all have a fluidity with how we move around the kitchen. We all are there to support and clean up after each other. Never in my life has somebody come up right behind me and cleaned up after me, but these folks do for some reason. We really care about each other, and we care about the kids. We want them built with strong bodies. Yeah, not just feeding them. We want to nourish their bodies. We want to nourish their minds. And if you get a hug, that's cool too. I think that's about all I got. Oh, the bison chili. Now, that's fun. You're talking about being able to pack in a serving of, the opportunity to put in tomatoes, beans, and protein or meat all together in one serving. And then anything beyond that is just extra nutrition. That's something we can put over the hot dogs. We did that last week. We put the leftover bison chili over the hot dogs last week. A lot of kids opted for a chili dog. That is so cool. And and then bison chili, it's, fairly simple to make. It's with anything, scratch cooking, you have extra dishes, you have a little extra work that goes into it, totally worth it, in my opinion. Especially for such a powerfully packed meal like bison chili. That comes from LFS Foods. Oh, thank you.
I love how passionate she is. Most of them, all of them are like that. It's really, really great. It makes it easy to lead them in this. It makes my job easy. So a little bit about LFS Foods. The USDA grants entities, and in our case, it's Washington State. They grant them, I think the total was $200 million last year. And it's used to help foster the relationships between public entities such as schools and local farms, local producers. The bison that we used to make the chili last week, that was last week, right? Because we're sorry. So the bison that was used to make the chili comes from LFS Foods. We get an entitlement from OSPI, and then Aaron Edgington works with Meredith to determine the best ways to use those funds. There's a lot of raw meat products, which we're kind of diving into that. We started working with raw meat a little bit earlier this year, probably like October. Raw meats.
Oh, yeah, probably October-ish.
Yeah, so we've kind of dug into that. We've got some experience now, and it's going great. I tried the chili too. It's amazing. Past this, so go ahead and go to the next slide, Tricia. I just want to provide a little bit of other information, background information, financial information about nutrition. So this is just to support what we've been saying. What we did here is we took our October of 2022 data, meals served, and this was over a 5-day period, I believe.
Was, yeah.
And we took the average number of breakfasts and lunches served, and then we took October of 2023 and compared them. So at the elementary, we saw an improvement of 36% in participation of breakfast. So that means we're serving 36% more meals than we're. Lunch is up 9.1%, which we get a lot of participation for lunch at the elementary school. As it is, so there's not as much room to go up. At the middle school, breakfast 37.1%. That's amazing. Middle schoolers don't like to eat breakfast, and we're making it available to them as they walk in, and they're attractive options. So it's really good. And then lunch is up to almost 20%, 19%. This is just a testament to the work that these guys are doing in the kitchens. I don't take any credit for it. It's Meredith who's been helping lead the program. It's been them. It's been Tricia helping with everything that she helps with, on top of her other roles in other programs. So
I like the
keep it up.
data, the graphics with the data articulates, what kind of.
Yes. Yeah, it's really good. And we've been working with the kids to get feedback. We have a survey machine that we put in the elementary once a month.
That was the kiosk was here for.
Okay. The kiosk was here, and it just lets kids give their opinion, anonymous opinion about the foods, and the service, all of that kind of stuff. And we were able to take those results and make some improvements. So that's really good. We're getting participation from the students. We're getting the feedback, so it's good. Rather than them just ignoring us and it's the lunch ladies, it's the lunch program.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Have you guys had feedback from students or from the instructors about student behavior with like processed foods being major behavioral triggers since switching to the wholesome foods?
So I personally haven't. I don't know if you guys really have. As far as the educational side, so that is something to check in with the elementary school and the middle school to see if that's having any kind of impact. But I guess on the other hand, we are seeing a lot more participation with our own staff members. They don't have to buy it. They don't have to bring a lunch. I guess they do, but they don't have to rely on somebody else at times to make them a lunch, to prepare them food. So that they're choosing to eat this food is really great to see. This slide now, we've gotten a few grants over the past years, and some of these items, most of these items have been used to support our move to scratch cooking. So for the 21-22 school year, we got a National School Lunch Program equipment grant that funded the fridge freezer combo, the walk-in fridge freezer over at the elementary school. And that award was almost $50,000. Later that year, we were awarded $4,362. That was used to purchase some rolling carts, napkin dispensers, food service, food storage containers, other miscellaneous small equipment. And then that same year, we were awarded $25,000 for the fresh fruit and veggie program. And what we did for this is, and this was just an elementary school grant, so we didn't have the option to provide this for middle schoolers. But what we did is, I believe it was 2 times a week, the kitchen would prepare a serving of a fresh fruit or vegetable for students. Each week it changed, and this was just to provide an introduction. How many of our kids really get fresh fruits or veggies every day? Not many. I know I don't always eat fresh fruits or veggies every day. So being able to provide that to the students and not and not,
In the classroom.
yeah, yeah.
A flyer about the health benefits of the food.
Yeah, and you guys actually in your packet, there's a fun facts about the bison. Those fact sheets would be similar to that, but related to the food, item that they were trying to. We saw really good results for this, that was kind of the start of our scratch cooking, taking food and serving it and preparing it fresh, and serving the students fresh. There's a little bit here before, but not like that. And then we have last year, there was a USDA Farm to School grant, and we actually were awarded this grant again for this year and next year. But we received $20,000. This is used to purchase local fruits, vegetables, meat from, for our program. For us, we used it to pay a few local producers, Rowley Hawkins Fruit Farm, which is in Basin City out in the middle of nowhere. We purchased some cherries, some dried cherry snacks. We passed those out to the students. We did that here at the middle school and the elementary school, and the students loved those. Lady McDonald's Gourmet Foods. It's just a one-woman show. She grows microgreens, so she provided microgreens, and we kind of, I want to say, we handed those out to students similar to the fresh fruit and veggie program. More along the lines of what they're doing now is provide it as a side of, say, do you want to try this? Let us know what you think. And then some other local farms. There's some food hubs that are around. There's one down in Southwest Washington in Lewis County, and we purchased from a few different farms through them. And then the current school year, and this carries over, it's a 2-year grant, but we received the Farm to School grant again. This time it's $20,000 over 2 years, and it will be used for the same purposes as the prior award.
Grants also help pay for Meredith's fees.
Yes, this is also helping pay. Meredith's mentorship this year is provided through, I believe, another grant, actually. And then a portion of this will be used as indirect costs to pay for one more year of Meredith's mentorship. So we'll have her through next school year. So we'll hopefully continue to see some more big changes and more fresh food items, and just continue to see our numbers grow.
Chris. Okay, so on the grants, is there indication that grants will continue?
Yeah, so there's a lot, there's all kinds of grants related to nutrition. I want to say we've applied for 3 or 4 different ones this year. And since we've received a few grants through OSPI, they take into account recency and other awards. So that's been a factor, but we're continuing to apply for those grants. And when we get them, you'll continue to see those improvements, whether it's a small equipment grant for a few items that are $1,000, a couple $1,000 a piece, or a new freezer to help us with storage. So, yeah.
Rick, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any idea as to what the cost on this buffalo per unit cost?
That is a great question. I can find that. I don't off the top of my head.
I don't have any idea how much it costs by finding
Yeah,
this, but we didn't pay for it. It was local foods for students.
Yeah, it's purchased through entitlement dollars. So I believe that we pay for shipping and other costs associated, but not the physical food product. But if you want, I can find that information and get that to you.
I think it's great. I love it. I like to feed people also. So your passion for it is, it speaks to my heart. But I mean, I notice a difference in my kid when she gets to eat healthier foods versus processed or packaged foods also. So I think that this is amazing to sneak it in for pretty much everybody, right? And I like the try it idea because that's the easiest way to introduce them, right? Just try it. It's fine. And then they'll try it and be like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. And the dried cherries is really kind of what made me think of it, because my daughter came home freaking out and she was like, we have to buy dried cherries. They're so good. I had them at school. So that's a staple in our pantry now. So thank you guys for that. Yeah, it's great.
Right, I think that was it for the slides. But any more questions? If you guys think of questions down the road, feel free to reach out to me, Jeff. We'll get them answered.
I hope you all think about approaching the journal for an article, because I think this would be great public information. You know, kids come home and complain about meals, even when they've eaten them and they like them. It'd be nice for the public to know what's happening. And, you know, most of us remember fresh cooked food at school. Not you guys. I remember when they made the soup at school. I think it would be great PR.
Absolutely. It starts with smelling the garlic and onions cooking and gets their little mouths ready. And having Meredith give us a generous license to, I asked her, we're 2 hours from the ocean. Can we get to it? She's like, I don't see why not. We have such a beautiful part of the country
Yes.
to get fresh fruits and vegetables.
Absolutely,
We're
yeah.
year round. And especially with that garden that's happening over there at the elementary school, the possibilities are really endless. You can't get more local than walking across the field, picking carrots and bringing them back. I'm totally in love with this program. I hope it will continue. And if anything, it will never be the same after this. We will always have this in our mind about being able to give kids better food with just a little bit more effort. And it really does teach us a little bit more effort on our end, I know. It can be pressed for time, it can be kind of hard, but the payout is just so much, just so much. We love it. Yes.
It's awesome.
And Anna brings up a point that I hadn't thought about, but those local grants, the grants to purchase local food, we can use that to purchase food from our garden at market price.
Wow.
That way we can these grants will help fund the garden and those activities as well.
Susie, just a real fun thing real quick. About a year ago, our team was featured in the journal because Meredith, our mentor, she had a chef come in.
Oh, yeah.
My chef
I remember that. Yeah.
came in for an entire day and worked with the team to make meatloaf from scratch. And they did put them in the paper, and we do want to get some more stuff going. We're practicing here. About my technology.
No
What you
worries.
guys have done here is phenomenal. I think presenting the things that you have done is selling it to the public, basically telling our families that we're doing due diligence to feed our kids. And I think that's great. I really do. The marketing plan is working.
Thank you.
Our
Yeah,
taxpayers.
and our voters. Okay, well, like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. I don't know if you guys have tried it yet, but we provided samples.
You better do it, right?
So,
It smells delicious.
Better try it.
better try it.
Thank you, guys.
Testing, it's on. Okay, Matt, would you present? Thank you, I appreciate that. All of the board, should have received this packet that has this front cover on it. Yeah, just like this, and we will post to our, present that flow chart in the front. Matt and I have, want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about student safety and school safety and what that looks like for our buildings, both at the middle school and at the elementary school. I know that one of the biggest questions that comes up is, what do we do when we hear something come up?
or we see something that provides either, it may be an imminent danger to our students, or it could be a potential threat. It could be aggression, it could be, a little bit more hostile than that. But in the end, when it comes down to what are we doing as far as the school, when somebody makes a comment or they make a threatening type of a reference about either our school or towards one of our students. So we wanted to let our board know, and you may already know this, that all of our administrators, our school psychologists, our SRO, we are required to go through training through the ESD on the threat assessment response protocol. And there is a very, very set method and way that we determine any threat that comes through and how we determine how we respond to that. It is not willy-nilly, it is not subjective, it is very quantified, and we are actually responsible to our local ESD to make sure that we report our findings to them. And Dan Bourgeois, who has been a part of our district for a long time and now is at the ESD, has worked with us, and he has been overseeing that threat assessment until I believe you're looking for somebody new at this time. So I've linked in your documents as well, your electronic documents. There is a link to the ESD website, to the threat assessment portion there, where all of the documents are located. We only gave the school board a few copies of things that we would use on a regular basis. So you will not find all of the forms that are part of the threat assessment procedures, but if you go to the link to ESD, you will find access to the Google Drive where every form is in there. This is just, we wanted to be very open and transparent with you about the forms that we, like 99% of the time, these are the forms that we use all the time. So Deputy Nat and I are just going to go very quickly through what this flow chart looks like and try to answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Nat.
Good evening, and thank you. So you probably just read the headlines, and we obviously, a lot of us know, unfortunately, there's an uptick in violence within our country, within our schools. Sorry, I got it.
You're fine, I know.
Anyways, so there's a large uptick in violence within our country, within our schools. And so we've adopted threat assessments through that. So the model that we use is the Salem-Kaiser threat assessment, which is the kind of the, and I hate to say this term, but it's the industry standard for where we're at in schools. And so it was adopted in the late 90s, and it's continually to evolve in the strategies that's being used in it. So what it looks like is whenever there is a perceived threat, whether that's a verbal, written, or on social media, our team then gathers, and then what we do is we basically determine what that threat level, what that threat's going to look like. So we're going to determine what the seriousness and how that would pose a potential threat to our school environment. So there's three components of that, and that first one is going to be the threat itself. What was the actual threat? The second being the person that made the threat, and then three is going to be the facts and circumstances around that threat. So we look at the specifics, the credibility of the threat, the student's history and behavior, and any relevant factors such as perhaps like mental health or anything like that. So we're going to look at all those circumstances that are involved in that. And so for instance, so we see like we have like our flow chart, and this is kind of this is from the ESC 130, but this is also based on the Salem-Kaiser model. So we have, like I said, we have some sort of threat that comes in, and you see where the flash button, that the act of violence, that's what we're implied threat. So we're going to do two things. Either it's a very serious threat, and that's when law enforcement immediately gets involved, or that's when our group decides to meet. And so our group is, we have our building administrator, we have myself, we have psychologist of the year, So we have a very diverse team that meets together and we discuss. And so the reason we have a diverse team is because all of us are going to have different relationships with that student. So maybe someone has, a different input based on our perception. Maybe someone has different input based upon, maybe I've had contact with that person outside of school, or just have a different relationship, or with, teachers. So we're all going to make that assessment based on that. And then, so we determine, okay, is this a credible threat? Is this, where do we need to go for this? And so we then determine, hey, we have it's like our preliminary part of that threat. And if we determine it's not a credible threat, it still gets documented, and then we file that away, then we go through. So that's name for it, but it's a meeting that we have, and we say, hey, we're not going to go to a threat level 1 assessment. And a threat level 1 assessment is kind of our first, you'll see what here. And so that's called threat response dismissal form. So we say, hey, we're not going to go to threat level 1, but what are the facts and circumstances? What are your reasoning that you feel that you do not need to go with that? So we have to document those reasons based upon that questionnaire that I think everybody has as well. So once we get information whether to go forward or not, so say we go to a threat level 1. That's going to go with our team. There's specific, before we meet there are specific forms that have gone out. We have a witness interview, there's a child interview, there's multiple teachers interview, there's a parent interview with extensive questions. Everything, I couldn't go off the list because I think you guys might have at least one of those forms in there, and they're all fairly similar. Depending on what the threat was. But we always ask, one of the things like, hey, is there firearms in the home? Where are they at? Are they secure? What's the status of them? We talk to the staff, we'll talk to the student that made the perceived threat. We'll kind of find out why was that threat made? Where were you going with this? What's kind of going on? And so these are all considerations. Like I said, there's all kinds of considerations based upon different, maybe they've done this before. Maybe there's something happening outside, and that's kind of nice having different perspectives with it. Because I can have a perspective. I'm like, hey, I can do a little bit of history research. Maybe find out, hey, I can find out something's going on at home. Maybe there's a history of violence at home, or something that will help kind of weigh in a decision where we should go with this. So once we made that decision, we had to start a planning process for a threat level 1. What is that? What does a reentry look like? What is that? What are we going to have some precautionary and safety plans in place, which can include maybe random background checks, depending on what the threat was. If there's a threat of a firearm or a knife or some kind of object or something like that, then that's what we might imply looking at a backpack, random thing. So
one of the things on the questionnaire, actually there are several questions on the questionnaires, are about relationships that the student has with either teachers here at school or staff at the school. And that is important for us to look at because it could be a part of their reentry plan, that we connect them with a staff member who can check in with them on a very regular basis and check and see how things are going, whether it's an administrator or a counselor or somebody that the student has identified. Then we had a student who told us there was a classified staff member that they really felt that they had a good rapport with. So when they re-entered after we had done a threat assessment, one of the things I did was pull that classified staff member in and say, hey, your name was brought up as a person that this individual feels that they have a connection with. Would you be willing to do a check-in, check-out system with that person, at least for the next 2 weeks, and just see how things are going with them? So looking at the SEL portion and finding, because we do know that many of these students who, when you're looking at historically the statistics, you're looking at Students who have shown violence at school they're not connected, they don't feel connected, they feel ostracized. There's not somebody there that they can make that connection with. And so it's very important. And the Salem Kaiser model of protocol actually recognizes the value of making sure that we have that relationship that is built, repaired, and then restructured and built upon again as well.
So we're talking about, so the threat level 1 assessment. And so that generally is going to require some, some modification. It could be just some, different class that may look differently. Some things may look differently, and some local resources here at the school may look differently. So if we going through the questionnaire that we have, and there's some questions in there, and if you answer yes to some of these questions, it says, hey, you should probably look at a threat level 2 assessment. And I think sometimes that we just kind of know as a team, we like, this may go to that level. So what a threat level 2 assessment is, now gives you additional resources through the ESD. And so I sat on the threat 2 level assessment with ESD 114 for a couple years up there. And so it's just a group of just different professionals. You have some PhDs in there, you have some cops, you have some teachers, you have a little bit of everything with a little bit of experience, some counselors. And so you have a community that kind of comes together, helps you pull some resources. And so we've gone to that level. And so we talk to them, basically, meet virtually with them. Everybody who sits on that panel has signed an agreement form, a disclosure form there. And so they come up with some, it's kind of like a brainstorm. So they basically, here's our concerns. Here's what we've dealt with. Here's what we've done, put in place. But we're kind of, what are some additional resources that we can kind of tap into, maybe with the community or some of that. And so they kind of put their minds together, maybe come up with an additional plan for them as well. And so that's when it gets to that level. And that's not something that's not very common. It's not very common at all. But a threat level 1 has become, I say, unfortunately, more common. And I think we want to continue doing that for the threat level 1. Like I say, it's one of those things that's, better safe than sorry or better safe than soon kind of thing. And it just gives us that insight and information that we can keep. And so, like at threat level 1, this is a sealed doc. Once that threat level 1, 2 are also sealed up. Those are going to keep in a file, stay sealed up. And I believe that will go to they'll follow them. If they go to another school, they can, because a lot of times in the past, we probably all know that in the education system that we've had instances happen when we have a student that has this, and then some of that information just didn't follow. And then all of a sudden you have a new kid and stuff has happened. It happened to me at, when I was up at North Mason, we had a legit gang member from Las Vegas who was a 18-year-old student and had come up there their senior year, and day 1 was starting fights and just everything. And we didn't get any information from another school district that's that way. And so that information never followed because they didn't put that stuff in this file that we never got. And so had we had a heads up, we could have took some proactive measures and providing some more security to the school. So so that's so my message is, if you hear the word threat assessment, we're doing a threat assessment. It doesn't always mean that there's a direct threat of violence at the school, because I know a lot of people hear that, and so they're kind of, sounds kind of scary, and it is. And we never want to belittle what that means, because we're always taking safety for our children, number 1. But I think that staying in line with continuing to do that, is just helping us to, document that stuff. So, and talking to other school districts, everybody's kind of jumping on board with this model, and it's becoming very more common just to do this, just to say, hey, you know what? This is that we just want to say, we want to basically, instead of just, one person saying, oh, they just, what Johnny, and I know everybody uses the word Johnny a lot. Sorry, Johnny, you get in trouble a lot. But so Johnny said these words, blah, blah, blah. And so one person may hear it. We want to kind of get this team's perspective of this, just so we have more feedback. Because sometimes we think, maybe we should do this or something like that, and getting other perspective helps out. So, do you guys have any questions for us by chance?
I had a quick question. So you mentioned there had increases, right, in like the level 1 threat assessment. And, I know that that's global. It's not just specific to Pioneer, but what do those statistics look like for our school district?
I don't have those numbers. Are you asking what the number of?
No, I mean, not necessarily the direct number, just like overall, right? Like I'm assuming that we're included in this.
Yeah.
There's been an increase, right? So what does that look like relative to last year or even in the fall, right? When you talk about increase, what does that mean?
Yes, I would say there's an increase, and I think there's always kind of been maybe prior, because this threat assessment level has been around for a long time. And I think there's maybe kind of been a stigma of saying, oh, we did a threat assessment because of this. Like everything threat assessment, they instantly want to go to the worst of what's happening. And they said, man, we did a threat assessment. We don't want to know for the schools. I was doing threat assessments. Well, threat assessments look different. Like you can have, perception of words or something, and you can have, also, I'll use like the Tourette's theory, right? Maybe someone just blurted the stuff out and there was no intent, but it was hurt. And like I tell our students all the time, it's sometimes when you say something, someone else hears what they say, but you don't know your audience. And so maybe perceived differently by somebody else. So amongst your friends, this wasn't a threat because they know you're just, okay, you're talking this way. But when that travels and someone else hears that information and they're like, at one point in time, they felt threatened because they didn't know what the conversation was.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt threatened. That's still a threat. And so that's when we have to we should handle it the way it is as a threat. And sometimes we'll know as okay, they're just making poor word choices. However, we're still documenting that just because. And so, at both schools, we've been doing that. And I think maybe, I don't know why the increase is. I mean, it's kind of across the board, from, the Shelton School District, North Mason School District, threat assessments are going up. And the world that we're kind of looking at is becoming, unfortunately, more violent and desensitized. And, and amongst our kids that go here, they're looking for some ways to get attention. And whether it's negative attention or good attention, when they say stuff like this, in order to get attention, it gets attention quickly. And so that's part of our team's responsibility to say, we'll use Johnny again. Johnny's been, hey, Johnny said this. Okay, so let's see what's going on at home, what's going on at class. Is there something that we need to help redirect Johnny with? There's some way we can give Johnny some support because, Johnny's going through this or something like that. And so that's kind of what we're just using that for documentation.
I think too, the other thing that we see is, 20 years ago, if you were on a playground or in a PE class and you kind of got upset a little bit and said, I'm going to kill you, you didn't think twice about it. Now, all that is taken seriously. I think that I wanted to touch on the example you gave too, is that, if we have like a bunch of students in here and one of our kiddos is having maybe a tough day and he just says, I feel like blowing this school up, and just telling his buddy, not going to, but somebody 10 feet away hears that, takes it as an immediate threat that Jeff said he's going to blow up the school, not knowing that the kid's joking, he's just having a bad day and letting steam off. And then on top of that, what we deal with is as soon as that student hears that, it's not long before they get their cell phone out and go to the restroom and text on social media that they heard that somebody's going to blow the school up. And so we're not only dealing with sorting out this issue with Jeff, who made that comment, But now we're also starting to field some phone calls about, hey, we heard the school's gonna be blown up, and what are you guys doing about it? So it's really compounded what we used to have to go through, so.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think the big thing to remember is that we're never, as a school district, we're never gonna, win as far as it goes with the idea of any communication that goes out about a threat assessment because it's absolutely confidential. So the big thing is that if you ever hear that there's a threat assessment taking place, you have to realize that, again, if you look back at that flow chart, it gives you two options right from the very beginning. If there is any imminent danger, we will take action immediately. I mean, that's just a non-negotiable. Our student safety is number one priority. Every administrator believes this to the bottom of their souls, and we would never, ever jeopardize our students being in danger ever. And so when you hear something like that, I'm going to ask your trust. You know, Mark and Kaylee, Jeff, are going to ask your trust that when you hear that there's a threat assessment being done, you understand that if we believe that students were in imminent danger, we would have taken action immediately. You know, Matt is here 3 days a week. We have called 911 for injuries at the drop of a hat. If we felt like there was ever a student who had a health emergency or anything like that, we have no problems calling and making sure that our students are safe at all times. Yeah.
So my question is, so ESG, well, these are documents that you gather statistical data. And I realize it's PII, personal information, confidential. But is there the ability to provide some kind of a graphic representation of what our district is going through year to year? You know, up to or down to? Is that possible, or is that asking too much of the system?
ESD sends out a monthly report on level 1 and level 2 threats to each school district, only ours. So yes, that data is available. We can just call down and again, what have we had? 4 maybe this year so far?
So my point in all of this is if our community is aware that we have issues, and we're not going to be specific about it.
Right.
And we'll put a statement in there that says that due to confidentiality and personal information, these are the statistics community. We implore on you to understand this and talk with your children.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why Matt and I felt strongly impressed to actually do a presentation at the board, because we knew that this was going to be recorded and we wanted it available to our families who potentially could not attend tonight, but that it was out there and we had, you know, we spoke to what our procedures are so that our families are well aware and our community are aware that our children's safety is our top priority. And yes, we're a school, academics are important to us, but you know, for some of our students are here for, you know, up to 10 hours a day, sometimes up to 12 hours a day. We want to make sure that they are safe the entire time they're here. And this is not a secret. It's not a secret procedure that we go through. It is not something that is done. I mean, yes, it's done behind a closed door for student confidentiality, but these documents are unfilmed and available for people to look at so they know what the procedures are that we're going through. So, and then I guess I wanted to close, unless Matt, you have something to say with this. I would like to close with the idea that this is not a punitive process, meaning we're looking to get someone in trouble. There may be consequences that are associated with this and we have to document those consequences, but that is a separate part. That's like my admin disciplinary procedure. This is meant to be a restorative process. So if we have a student who has offhandedly said something or in anger said something, and may have, you know, be trying to be revengeful or whatever else. This is about restoration. How do we get that student moving forward? It is never an intention that our student becomes part of, quote, the system. That's not, we know that that doesn't work. We do know that restoration and going through the processes of helping a student, whether it's with additional SEL support or mentoring support, letting them know that they are heard, that they are seen. Those are the types of things that help students move forward. They may not be able to control what's going on at home, but with our help, they can control what's happening here at school. And that's what this process identifies and helps us put into place these plans of moving forward with each of our students in a very positive and growth mindset manner.
Such an important topic. I really
Mhm.
appreciate you guys.
With bullying being an issue, right? So that would probably fall under like level 1 until it, like how many instances until it's like moved forward, or if it's not stopping, then like what kind of action is taken there? I just hear from people, oh my kid gets bullied so much and it's always with the same kid or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Those are good. Do you want to?
I just think that those are definitely things that we can consider. And that's what kind of like going back to looking at, you know, what has that student done in the past as well? And those are all considerations.
Yeah.
That's also, you know, usually it's a growth of different things that maybe, because sometimes you'll have like a one-time thing that would spark a threat assessment. Sometimes it's something like this, it's like continued bullying, uptick in behavior, it's becoming more violent and aggressive, and we're like, we need to do a threat assessment, and not necessarily something specific right then was made, but we're seeing this, you know, progressionary of you know, violence and verbiage that's being used, and we're thinking, hey, we need to get together as a team and discuss this. So yeah, so that's something that, you know, part of that would happen.
And most bullying incidents don't reach the level of level 1 because there's really not a threat. It's more name calling, making fun of their, you know, whatever the case may be. But, you know, looking at the severity of each bullying incident is dealt with differently in the school than it would be with a threat assessment. But yeah, as that behavior progresses and becomes more aggressive, then that could lead to a level 1 threat. So.
thank you.
I just had one last question. Sorry. So you talked about how, like, you know, a friend saying a word, right? And like exaggerating how they were feeling or whatever. And, you know, I mean, that's been around forever. But do you guys do anything preemptively to have those conversations with students at the beginning of the year or throughout the year and remind them like this kind of word choice is unacceptable regardless? And these are the consequences that you're going to like, this would be the next step for you, right? So like just to keep it front of mind for all students versus not just right at the beginning of the year, because obviously like there's a lot of conversations happening. I know that happens at the beginning of the year, but throughout the year as a, you know, or if you see like, if you have more that you have to follow up on that are level 1 for whatever, and just say, okay, we're going to set aside however much time of the assembly and this is what we're going to talk about or whatever. But those kinds of preemptive conversations, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's, well, it is. It happens actually daily that we're doing that. And we also, it's a weird line that we have to follow.
Yeah.
Because as soon, at least at the middle school level, it might be different at the elementary, but as soon as you say that something is not allowed at the middle school level, guess what's gonna happen?
All of it.
Right? So then we're gonna have like 17 people who are all going to test the waters to see, are you really gonna hold that boundary, Ms. Van Lerner? Or are you just saying that and I'm just gonna say it's a joke or whatever else? So we have to really run those conversations in a manner that is, it's a feasible and a reasonable way to have those conversations. We do those things in advisories. And so it's a small group environment. And so we're able to do that. And we also do it even in smaller groups than that. Like we may have a group of 3 or 4 kids who come in and we may talk to them. And of course, the one-on-one is definitely something that we do too. But yes, it is a daily, we talk about word choice and we talk about things like the things that come out of your mouth that you're held accountable for on a regular basis. And then when something like this comes up, it could be potentially addressed in the advisories that, you know, our small groups that you're looking like 17 to 23 kids type of a thing. So yes, in those particular situations, most definitely we do address these types of issues.
Awesome. Thank you.
And it's not just words, it's also gestures
Yes.
and body language and those kinds of things too are just as harmful.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, we are at the principal report.
Got a little bit close.
Really close.
Hi, well, we're here to get you guys up on the elementary school. We've been doing the last month. Just to let you guys know, we are gearing up for state testing. So we actually did our training tonight. Our teachers with state testing. So we really want kids to be familiar with like what they're going to be tested on, or child's going to be tested on. So we know that state testing is very important. So those results go out. Those results go out to our public. So those results go out to our public, and we want to show the public how well we do. So lots of data with our teachers to our testing. Long story short, we were training tonight our teachers about state testing so they can then work with our kids so that they're prepared and ready for state testing when it comes up in the next few weeks. So that is kind of what we're working on right now. Also, our Eagle Assembly last month was on perseverance, so it's going to work with this way. So we did that last month with our staff and staff. So with our students, there's a lot of fun. They did the cool challenge, which was pretty fun. I think we feel it doing it. It was pretty messy again. I'm so sorry that you need to put its repairs. Our ASP leadership is moving forward. And on our social, they actually did officers, so they voted for ASP officers for 5th grade. So that's kind of cool. That's how we're really trying to get student votes back in elementary school. We've got a couple of projects that they're coming on, that they're working on right now. One of them is trying to do your in-house for the kids. That's the after school project. And we're talking about doing the rocks in front, which is pretty done. Growth mindset statements are, we call the sword rock garden, which is out front of the school. You see that. So they have some very cool stuff to help people be over time. So you can start next year, hopefully, if you're here doing ASP and then start doing gym. All right. Also, literacy night, we want to invite you guys to literacy night. Literacy night is March 7th at the elementary school. We are going to have cookies and milk in the gymnasium, and then the encourage students to dress up in their pajamas for bedtime stories. In the classrooms throughout the building. We also have the book fair open that night. So the video that we cruise the fair and get some books for kids. All right, that's great.
All right, so also kind of connecting to literacy, we were looking into, so we've got our tier 1, our CKLA up and running this year. So looking into how to better support those kids that still need a little extra oomph in their reading and how to improve their abilities. So CKLA actually has a program. It's kind of a gamified computer program, I guess you could say. It's called Boost Reading. And so we've been looking into that and talking to our reps about what that looks like. They've actually given us a free trial for the rest of the year. So our teachers are getting to use it. The kids take like a placement test basically, and it's for K through 5. And it places them into like their appropriate level. So kids who are behind and have holes in areas, it kind of sees where those holes are and then helps fill those, while challenging the kids that are at grade level or above grade level. So that is giving them things to work on as well. We were able to go, it was really nice. We were able to go out to my old school in North Kitsap and talk to teachers and staff that are using it because they've had it all year and also adopted CKLA this year. And so we were able to get like actual feedback from people who've been using it and got some good feedback. So we're excited to see how that's going to look and see if it's something worth pursuing and paying for next year if we want to continue with it. And then we also got some good feedback on some other tier 2 programs that I think we're going to do a little bit more research and dive into, just to make sure we have like a unified system tier 2, so that now that we've got tier 1, making sure we have a strong tier 2 for those kids who need that extra support. That is something that is used with integrity throughout, instead of having our tier 2 be a piecemeal. This group is doing this group is doing this, and having all that stuff. Trying to find a unified tier 2 program that will be strong for the kids. In similar aspects, I guess, looking at the math adoption committee, we did talk to iReady. So we've got our top 3 contenders laid out. It's actually looking like it's going to be our top 2 contenders, which is kind of bringing down to Envision, Mathematics, through Savvis, and then iReady, re-adopting that. So we talked to a rep from iReady last week. They came and presented to us, and so now we're kind of getting down to those conversations of what those next steps look like. So that'll be next week. So moving along with our math curriculum. And then just as a FYI, because it could be really fun, we are working really hard on our attendance and boosting our attendance as a district, obviously. The last few weeks of the elementary school have been rough. There's some sort of sickness going around that is just wiping us out. We were at like 89% attendance on Monday. So at our last assembly, after I had Cool Whip all over my face for digging out the gummy bears, super fun. I like the weird stuff. We announced our attendance incentive. So if at the elementary school, we have 95% of our kids present for 10 days in a row, so 95%, 10 days in a row, they will have a chance to slime me at the next assembly. So I am so excited to get to be slimed. Like, I'm like really hope we may accomplish this before the March one. I'm thinking it might be April. But I am excited. Jesse Chacos, our attendance secretary, is willing to get messy and have fun and be silly with me. The kids are excited. We sent out a parent newsletter. Yesterday was Monday. Oh, okay. Yesterday. And it's only Tuesday. So hopefully we'll get the parents on board, because we know at the elementary school, it's really the parents getting the kids to school. So we're just hoping to find fun, encouraging ways that like kids will be like, Mom, I gotta be at school today, or whatever it might be, so that we got our kids there. And if we get it in March, I'm happy to see some other wild, crazy thing to get them there in April and continue it for the rest of the month. So Jesse and I are really gonna work on finding fun and silly, goofy things that we can do to encourage the kids to be at school and be on time.
Nice. You're brave.
I'm excited.
I'm not a slime fan, so.
Like, I think I like the Cool Whip challenge a little bit more than the kids, to be honest. Although those 5th graders were a little crazy too. No, so they had to get gummy bears out of Cool Whip and like couldn't use their hands.
Nice.
It was a challenge.
Any questions? Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, just a couple of things at the middle school level. The first one is, and Jeff will talk more about this in, I'm sure, his report, that tomorrow is our family engagement night, and we have our science fair. So all of our middle school science fair presentations will be here in the gymnasium. During the dinner portion, Tim Smith, who is our STEM teacher, will be having 2 of his group presented at actually different outside agencies, and one of them who presented to the governor. They will be presenting their projects as well. And we're super excited about that. That is a great event. The kids are excited about presenting their projects. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you there if you can make it. That will be tomorrow night. And then kind of piggybacking off of the family literacy night, that's part of our Title I program, is that we do need to have family engagement nights specifically to make sure that we have opportunities for parents to come in and see what we're doing in the areas of, like, for example, ELA and math. And so we have that district-wide family engagement night. So at the elementary school, Mark and Kaylee told you what was going on over there. At the middle school, we will be having corn dogs here and some crafts, and we will be having Timberland Regional Library here as well. So families can kind of float between both buildings, get cake and cookies and all corn dogs and listen to stories and go to the book fair and do crafts and see Timberland Regional Library. It's just a whole entire evening focused on literacy, which is awesome. And then I do know that I saw the invitation for tomorrow evening. We're going to be starting our meeting because we're going to have our math family night, and that will be coming in the spring. And that's always a big district-wide event as well. So we're very excited about that. Curriculum adoption, Kaylee spoke to the math curriculum adoption that's happening K-8. Over here, we have not adopted for about 20 years any new history curriculum. Yikes. It's not a good thing. So our 3 history teachers have gotten 3 different types of curriculum, and they have narrowed it down to 2. One is McGraw-Hill and the other is put out by Savvis. Thank you, but put out by Savvis as well. They will have those curriculums out to our parents to visit during conference week. So we're gonna put them out here so we can get feedback, and then they will have the feedback from any parents as well as the information that they have collected to give to you at your study session board meeting in April, the very first study session that you do. And then they'll give you some things, and then that'll be ready, providing your feedback and information. They would like to eventually go to the board at the end of April with a potential adoption choice that they have. So, but they're just going through that right now and looking at it and making sure. And let me tell you, it is interesting to look at curriculum right now. So, but they are doing a very comprehensive job of looking at that as well. And then I think the last thing is basketball. We have girls basketball that is finishing up. We have some pretty exciting games that are happening. And so if you have a chance to come to a basketball game, that would be great, because as soon as that is done in the next couple of weeks, we take a break, and then after spring break, we'll start track season. And let's keep our fingers crossed for nice weather during that time. All righty, thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yes.
What was the first history?
McGraw-Hill is the first one. It's put out by that, and I think it's called My Perspectives, I think is the title of the curriculum. And then the second one is put out by Savvis, and that is My World, I believe.
My perspective.
Yeah, Voices and Perspectives or something. That's the McGraw-Hill one. And then the other one is, like I said, I think it's called My World is what it's called.
We can email that information
We will,
tomorrow
yes.
morning.
As soon as we get that information, we will make sure to put all of that. You guys want full access to that and everything. Yeah.
When did you say literacy night will be?
Literacy night is next
Thursday,
right? Next Thursday, March 7th. Yes,
both buildings.
both buildings. And I think the elementary starts at 5 to 6:30, and then we're just staggered by half of an hour because we have a game here. And so ours is 5:30 to 7.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night's the science fair, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Wait, oh, yes, thank you, Matt. And then that's a busy week for us. Next week is a busy week. On the 8th, right? The 8th is a band concert here as well. And you definitely don't want to miss that. It is fabulous. We have 3 bands that will be playing, 3 different levels of bands, and the guitar class as well. And that starts at 6:30. 6:30 on March 8th. Thank you for reminding me that. I knew I'd forgotten something. Okay.
So Chris had an emergency, he had to leave, so I'm gonna walk through a couple things on the financials. If you want to look at the first one, the district financial report for January 31st. You can look at our budgeted revenues and in that first column, and then if you look actual for the year, and then look down at enrollment. You know, we budgeted for 710. Our average at the end of January was 736, and we saw that increase of apportionment. So as a percent of our revenues, we're pretty much on track. We've had 5 months in our fiscal year. We have 6 months to go, and we're just under 50% of our budget. You can look at capital projects, the revenue and the expenditures very closely match. The revenues are both the possibility of the legislature releasing our 4.25 million small school modernization grant, as well as the cost for our district office. We have to budget that as revenue, even though the legislature may not release the money. We're hoping this time around they do. Debt service, those numbers haven't changed much. And then ASB fund, you can see right now that they budgeted about almost 19,000 in for budget, and their revenues right around 19% of that. So I know they just had a dance and made some funds last week. And so the last one's our transportation vehicle fund. Again, we're, got some increased revenue that I'll share in a minute with you, but our transportation is budget-wise, we're right on. Also, we did get some increased apportionments this month that we didn't think were coming. The big one was in transportation. We received an additional $150,000 that we were not counting on. You don't have that report. Chris is just an email that Chris sent me. In our state special ed fund, we had an increase of $14,000. In our regular apportionment, we had an increase of $10,000. But last month, if you'll remember, we talked about the end of January based on our average enrollment being above our budget. We received an additional $150,000 in our regular apportionment. In our TBIP program, transitional bilingual, we received an additional $1,000. So we had a total of $175,000 in increased revenues this month. So that's always good news. If you take a look at the infamous pie charts, you can see not much has changed as far as percentages of revenues. You can see that our local taxes are making up about 27% of our resources at this point in time. And then you can look at state general purpose making up about 45%. And then you can look to date, again, by program, our expenditures. Again, regular instruction, support services are going to be our biggest expenditures because they deal with our personnel. And then on the back side of that, page on the pie chart, you can look at expenditures to date by activity. And again, you can look at percentages of teaching activities, support activities, and teaching support, all being personnel as well as building administration and district administration. Those percentages for administrative costs are pretty constant with most other districts percentage-wise. And expenditures to date by object, again, you can look at the salaries of certified, classified, and benefits make up the majority of our expenditures each month. Then you also have a budget status report in your packet that I won't go through each page. But again, you can look at broken down by local taxes, local support, non-tax, general purpose, look at the annual budget. Again, our budget, when you approved or adopted the budget, was a little over 15 million last year. You can see that we're right around 44% of receiving that revenue so far this year after 5 months. And then you can look at our expenditures. One area that we are overspent in is our special ed area, but we knew that was going to be a cost increase. So we're continuing to keep a close eye on that and waiting hopefully for the legislature for next school year to remedy some of the special ed. Anything specifically that I can take back to Chris or I can answer for you?
What was the surprise money from again? You talked about. at the very beginning?
Transportation was the big one, that we
And-
got a bump in our transportation apportionment.
And do we know why? Was that just,
No, it just showed up. We think it was just OSBI having additional funds. It could have been based on our STARS report. We just don't know the why we've got the 150, but it's not a mistake.
do we need to ask if we should have it?
Yeah,
Do with buses then.
nothing to do with buses.
Interesting, okay. Cool. Any questions for business stuff?
Well, it may be depreciation. It might be an increase in depreciation. So I can look that up.
Thank you. All right. Superintendent's report.
So you have my monthly report on your on desk. You can read that at your leisure. I just had a couple things that I wanted to add on. Again, plug for our second community dinner tomorrow night, 5:30. We have a roaring menu of pizza, salad, cake, and beverages. We will have special guests. Sheriff Ryan and Deputy Matt will be assisting in serving. And then Tim is going to be doing a presentation with his students. And then at 6:30, we will all hustle into the gym for the annual science fair. So it's going to be a great night. We expect a really good turnout. A couple other things, our district leadership team, you may have seen that on Friday notes, but we finished up our continuous improvement plan. And so that will come to you in the March board meeting for approval. And I appreciate the work of the district leadership team and the input that they put both in our areas of math, ELA, and social emotional learning. I thought some of the areas were well thought out, really good input. So we'll be sharing that with you next month. I did want to give you a legislative update that this came out from the League of Women Voters, and I thought it was probably the best side-by-side comparison. As you know, if you watch the news or you get your emails from WASDA, both House and Senate have released their proposed budgets, and now it's just a matter of negotiating. And when we talk about negotiating, you can look in that first column or that first row around early learning, that you can see the governor proposed $10.2 million, the House proposed 8.3, and the Senate proposed 10.2. That's got to land somewhere in the middle, we hope, for early learning. And then you can go through and look at all the differences. In some, you'll find that there's no additional funding from either the governor or one of the, either the House or the Senate. But in one of the budgets, it does show up. So again, that's part of the negotiations that's now going on. I think there's about down to 8 days left, maybe 7 days in this session. So we're following every day all the committee meetings and decisions, either through WASA or WASDA or our ESD. So keep you posted, but this is for your information, just to go through and see where the supplemental budget money is currently in each of the chambers. Trish talked about middle school social studies, so I was going to mention that. We will have that information to you for adoption in the future. We also, and I may have mentioned this to you in our study session, but Mason County received a grant to promote the county, and part of that is through video. And so we are participating with a company called CGI that will videotape, produce a 60-second Welcome to Pioneer School District video that will go on the Mason County website. And they will be here March 21st for about 6 hours. It takes about that much filming to get 60 seconds. So they sent me the script today, a tentative script of what this is going to look like. The next step that they require is that all of our adults and students who may be in the video, the parents have to sign a release form. And I said, well, we already do that at the beginning of the year, but we do it in reverse. We have parents tell us when they don't want their child on photography or film. But for them, because of liability, we have to have every person who may show up. sign this. So I'm working on how best to get that out to our teachers, to get out to our students. And so we'll see how that goes, but they're pretty thorough. They've got some voiceovers. They've kind of picked out, you know, a teacher speaking on camera, building exteriors, signage, murals, classroom. They want to look at kids having lunch in the cafeteria, showing so many programs, looking at band, music. So they're going to try to do little snippets that'll take up 60 seconds. That'll really promote what we're doing at Pioneer. So
That's
pretty
cool.
exciting.
Be a
Yeah.
good one to share on our social media.
Yeah. Once we get it, well, we'll see if we have rights to it,
Got you.
because it'll be, you know, they own it, but I'll have to get clarification on, because we are paying a little bit of money to support this too, because the grant couldn't fund the whole thing, but I thought it was well worth the publicity and the information that we can get out. Because a lot of times people that are looking to relocate, they'll go to a county or a Chamber of Commerce website. And if they have kids, one of the first things they're going to look at is schools. You know, where do I want my kid to go to school? And then followed by, what's the housing like? You know, where can I afford to live? So anyway, that's a great opportunity. Other than that, questions?
I don't think so. Not from me.
Okay. Great.
All right. So that takes us into the discussion and action items. We really only have one topic for action, which is the approval of staff out of endorsement. We have 4 different staff members. Do we have any information regarding that before?
They
go
were
into-
in your, they were on your, under
Oh, in our
personnel that you could have clicked in, to get that information. But, you know, by law, we have to have board approval.
Mhm.
And I know that HR provided the reason. I know
Yep.
Marina Stewart, for example, is subbing, long-term subbing in our kindergarten class. So she's going to be out of endorsement. But you'll have to approve these individually,
Mhm.
like we've done in the past. So
Okay. Is there any discussion before we move to the vote?
I just have to say, I'm just so amazed at how detailed now this business of being out of endorsement has gotten to be when I see the background of the people that we're addressing. I mean, we're not taking people off the street. These are
Thorough.
people who are well-trained educators to begin with.
And I will say before you vote, just a comment that we do have a number of emergencies. We have our classified staff who qualify have emergency cert subs. We've been able to use them on a lot of occasions because it's a little bit easier to make
Right.
adjustments in our classified than it is when we don't have a teacher in a classroom and we can't find anybody. So that's been really good. I think we have now, are there 5 or 6 at the elementary that are certified? Yeah, so we
Wow.
have some options now that we didn't have didn't have pre-COVID.
And you wind up with people who know the kids, know the routine that the teacher.
Well, and a few of them are in the program to become teachers.
Right.
So they're going to school. So anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. Okay, so up first we have Marina Stewart. Do I have a motion to approve Marina Stewart as an out of endorsement employee?
I move that we accept her out of endorsement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion passes for Marina. Up next, we have Daniel Farr. Do I have a motion to approve Daniel Farr is out of endorsement?
I move that we accept Daniel Farr as out of endorsement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'd second that also.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Up next, we have Ronna Graham. Do I have a motion to approve Ronna Graham as out of endorsement?
I move that we accept Ronna Graham as out of endorsement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that also.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. The last person we have is Mark Valerio. Do I have a motion to approve Mark Valerio as out of endorsement?
I move that we accept Mark Valerio and out of endorsement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Aye. Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, that motion passes, and that concludes all of the discussion and action items. Up next, we have new business. Do we have any new business that anybody has brought to the table?
I just have one question, and it's, do we need in our next study session to loop back and, spend time with Jeff on his mid-year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my thought was we may need to look into an executive session at that point as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll,
Just know that we're on this.
So what you'll get at the study session will be a to date where my goals are, how they align
right,
with
right.
strategic
Yeah.
plan. I'll give you a report. We'll share that, and then from
Yeah,
there
we've
you
got all the
can,
pieces, we just
yeah,
have to.
and then from there
do the
you
formal
can work,
process, yeah.
you can work with Lynn and to develop that.
thank you. Good
I'd
question.
just like to promote the upcoming, Kiwanis dinner. And,
Oh, I
and the
forgot that was
silent
coming.
auction and the live auction, and it's a great time to donate something created to the
Still tickets.
island.
And I have tickets in my office if
Yeah.
you need them.
I need a couple tickets.
I have a couple in my office.
Perfect.
I would say that we have a lot of great things coming up with the band concert and all
Yeah.
of that. Hopefully, those will all get put on the social media so we can make sure the community is coming, and the Kiwanis, is that on our Pioneer?
I've seen
social
that
media yet?
somewhere,
What's that?
the Kiwanis
I think
dinner.
it's
I don't
on one
remember
of,
where.
I think it's on one of
Is
our
it the
social media.
23rd?
We'll check.
Yeah.
We're slowly kind of getting that up to speed
Yeah.
with,
Let's say it's the 23rd.
Taylor.
We got a lot of good stuff going on that we could be sharing. with you.
speaking of that, just
Yeah,
a
it's
reader,
the 23rd, at 5 o'clock, I think.
yeah, at the elementary.
4:30.
Our reader board is out, as you've seen, and we're waiting for a part. So
Okay.
I should have given you that on my report.
That's okay. Any additional new business or board share? Because we kind of combined those a little bit.
I really enjoyed everything.
Yeah.
That was discussed tonight, the food from scratch, it's a wonderful program. I'm happy
Yeah.
to see that for our students and getting away from so much processed food. I had asked about if we've heard if it's made behavioral changes at all in any of our students, because I know that food can be such a trigger for our kids. So I'm happy to see that we're getting good food to them, and that will overall improve their learning and probably focus, and all around a good thing for our students, especially bringing it right from our own garden is really great too.
I was the one that dribbled all over everything.
And the
it gets-
music program, it's so fun.
As soon as it gets warmer and we start growing stuff.
Harvesting stuff, yeah. Yeah, I agree. That was fun. I love it when we get an opportunity to interact with people who come in and like see the students and try the food, which is absolutely delicious, and hear from all of the teachers and the principals and everything. So I really appreciate that. I love those ones when I get to like kind of be a part of it, I guess. It's really
Yes.
cool. So
I hope that it
Does
comes off
make it
on
wanna be a
some of
part
the
of it.
other schools in the county as well, seeing
Yeah.
what we're doing here. I just brought up putting it in the paper. I think that'd be good to, get other schools on board with the program we're doing here and.
I was thinking
know
how
they
much
should-
more rewarding it's gotta be for people in the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
to be smelling the food and making it as opposed to handing out packaged plastic food. I mean,
you're not as passionate about something
Yeah.
that you don't make with your hands, right?
But you saw the passion and the joy in
Mhm.
Anna. That's the department,
Yeah.
including Trish.
Yeah.
I mean, all those people that work in our food services department have that same passion and joy
You can tell.
to the job they do. And it's amazing.
That's awesome. I love that. Oh, all right. Anything else? Then with nothing left to share, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a
second
second? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, and that concludes this evening's meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You'll see in my superintendent report that I got an email yesterday, Tim Garchow is leaving
I saw
Wausau.
that. Yeah, I saw that.
Tim Garchow, who's the executive
saw
director,
that.
he's leaving.
It'll be interesting to see who bubbles up.
Yeah, he's been a good one, but he'll be good in the new role
Right,
too.
right. I have to tell you, my throat today.
You
Going
better not
around.
be. You've had
I know
enough.
I've managed to avoid it all the time.